Choose life, choose a job, choose a career, choose a family, choose a big television, choose washing machines, cars, compact displays and electrical tin openers.
In 1993, author Irvine Welsh released his first novel, Trainspotting, into the world. The novel centered around the lives of heroin users Renton, Spud, Sickboy, and their friends Begbie and Tommy. Upon release, it was met with universal success and eventually adapted into a film. Trainspotting was directed by the mastermind Danny Boyle and has been captivating audiences for over 2 decades. Released in the United Kingdom in February of 1996, and later to America in July of that same year, the movie would also depict heroin addicts in Edinburgh, Scotland, as they deal with life, drugs, and their consequences, as well as their various exploits. This wasn't just some run-of-the-mill movie adaptation, this is Trainspotting we're talking about. So today on Revisited, join us as we look back on one of the best movies the 90s had to offer. In December of 1993, Andrew McDonald, who would eventually become the producer of the film, was mid-flight reading Irvine's novel and thought to himself, this could be a great film. He brought the film to none other than director Danny Boyle and his writing partner John Hodge. Danny and John first stepped onto the scene back in 1995 with their thriller Shallow Grave. The film follows 3 flatmates in Edinburgh who are looking for a new tenant.
Yes, so tell me, Cameron, just tell me, because I'd like to know, what on earth could make you think we'd want to share a flat like this with someone like you? I mean, my first impressions, and they're rarely wrong, is that you have none of the qualities we normally seek from a prospective flatmate.
After selecting one, their new tenant unexpectedly dies, and he leaves behind a huge sum of money in a suitcase.
Telephone the police. Telephone them, tell them. Tell them there's a suitcase full of money, and you don't want it.
The 3 eventually decide to bury him and try to figure out what they should do with the money. This then sets off a chain of unfortunate events involving corruption and violence. It was the most commercially successful film in Britain of that year, but would go almost completely unnoticed in America. Danny was very excited by Trainspotting's potential and wanted to make it the most energetic movie you've ever seen. John Hodge read Trainspotting and realized it's a novel with just a bunch of short stories. He would make it his goal to create a screenplay that would have not only a beginning, a middle, and an end, but would also still convey some of the spirit and content of the novel. Danny then went to Irvine Welsh to option for the rights. Irvine appreciated that Danny, John, and Andrew wanted everyone to see this film and not play strictly to an art house audience, where it would potentially get lost.
And now I'm ready.
Production began on Trainspotting in April of 1995. Andrew secured financing from Channel 4. Channel 4 is a British television station known for funding independent films through its Film 4 network, and still runs today. To play the role of the main character Mark Renton, Danny cast Ewan McGregor, who is the previous standout actor from Shallow Grave. Maybe you've heard of him.
Thank you, Your Honour. With God's help, I'll conquer this terrible affliction.
Ewan Bremner was cast to play Spud, even though he had played Renton in the stage adaptation of Trainspotting.
See, I just get pure shy with the interviewer cats. Like, I get all nervous and I can't answer any of the questions. Like, I'm a footballer and I get nerves on a big occasion, man.
Try some of this, Spud.
Yeah, a little dab of speed is just a ticket, man.
Johnny Lee Miller was hired as Sickboy, mostly because of his Sean Connery accent. He not only used this accent in his audition, but it's also prominently on display in the film. Danny Boyle was also impressed by his acting in Hackers, a movie that he starred in with Angelina Jolie.
Here's your class.
My class? You mean I'm not in your class?
No, you're not in my class.
Robert Carlyle was brought on to play the crazy psychopath Begbie. After having seen this film countless times, I can tell you that there's no one who fully embodies a character better than Robert Carlyle does here, and some of his scenes have since become cult classics.
No way would I poison my body where I shite. All the chemicals. No way.
Kelly MacDonald, who was an unknown actress at the time, was hired to play Diane, who becomes Mark's semi-love interest. In the film, she plays a 15-year-old, when at the time she was 19. This is something that, if it was made today, just wouldn't fly in Hollywood and probably would have been cut out.
Calm down. You're not going to jail.
Oh, well, that's very easy for you to say, Diane.
Can I see you again?
Certainly not.
To prepare for the role, Ewan McGregor read books about heroin, since the internet wasn't readily available yet, and he even went to a recovery group that's centered on recovering heroin addicts. In the beginning of the movie, Renton and his friends are even playing football against those actual people from that recovery group. Ewan even learned how to cook heroin with a spoon, using glucose powder, obviously. To really get into character, Danny made all of the actors watch rebellious youth films, such as The Hustler and A Clockwork Orange. The film's production went quickly, and filming was completed in under 2 months. Most of the film was shot in an abandoned cigarette factory in Glasgow, even though the film takes place in Edinburgh. The only parts of the film that were shot elsewhere were the opening scene, which was shot in Edinburgh, and the ending scene, which was shot in London. So because of time constraints, a lot of the scenes were done in one take, and it gives the film a real grungy look.
I'm sorry, boys, I do not have £2,000.
Oh, you day. I've seen your bank statement.
For sake.
The movie would release in the UK in 1996 to critical success. Because the movie did so well in the UK, it was bound to be released in America. Andrew McDonald worked with Miramax, who would distribute the film in the US, and pitched it as a British pulp fiction. Prior to its release, Miramax requested that some of the dialogue be dubbed, so Americans could actually understand what was being said. This is prominently on display in the club scene when Spud and Tommy are having a conversation. For today's audience, all you need to do is turn on the subtitles for whatever streaming service, Blu-ray, DVD, VHS, or Criterion Laserdisc you have, and you're good to go.
He's a mate, so what can you do?
Can I borrow this?
When I was growing up, the only Danny Boyle film I had ever seen was 28 Days Later. Whenever I saw the trailer for that movie, or even the poster, it would say, from the director of Trainspotting. The title alone had me interested because, well, it said trains, which made me think of guys standing around watching trains.
Well, what are you waiting for?
Tommy, this is not natural, man.
It's a great outdoors.
At the time of Trainspotting's original release, I was too young to have seen this. Granted, I was shown Goodfellas, Casino, and Die Hard 3 at a very young age. This does make me wonder if my parents would have let that slide as well. I do remember going to Blockbuster and renting the DVD and being hooked. I love the imagery, the colors, cinematography, and the 90s feel of it all. I even remember saying to myself,
That's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
we need to talk about the soundtrack though, because it's one of the best released from a movie. It has since gone on to become a pop culture phenomenon. The soundtrack is divided into 3 different eras and style. The first being pop music from the 1970s, like Lou Reed and Iggy Pop. Iggy Pop's song Lust for Life is the song of the movie. It captures both the spirit and feel of the film. The movie opens with this song to the best monologue ever put on film. Let's not forget Lou Reed's incredible song Perfect Day, especially its use in the film during the scene when Renton overdoses. The second era is from the Brit pop music of the 1990s, highlighting bands like Blur, Primal Scream, and Pulp. The third and biggest portion of the soundtrack is the techno dance era of the 1990s. It includes Underworld, Left Field, and Ice MC. Underworld became a household name from this movie, with their hit song Born Slippy. This plays at the end of the film and always gets my blood pumping when it begins. Their second song though, Dark and Long, appears in the most controversial scene. During that scene, Renton is going through a drug withdrawal and experiences some harrowing things, including his friend's dead baby crawling on the ceiling. Throughout the years, the soundtrack has picked up tons of awards and recognition, including ranking 7th in Vanity Fair's 2007 list of Best Motion Picture Soundtracks. In 2013, Rolling Stone listed it as the 13th best soundtrack in their list of the top 25 soundtracks of all time. It's also available on vinyl, CD, cassette tape, and anywhere you can stream music. I will say, having this soundtrack on vinyl with its beautiful orange pressing is the best way to go.
The world's changing, music's changing, even drugs are changing. You can't sit in here all day dreaming about heroin and Ziggy Pop.
It's Iggy Pop.
Whatever.
One of the biggest successes from this movie was Ewan McGregor's rise to stardom. He would go on to have great success in the Star Wars prequels, Moulin Rouge, Down with Love, Robots, and Disney's live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast. Danny Boyle would also go on to great success, directing his Oscar-winning film Slumdog Millionaire, as well as 28 Days Later, Sunshine, Steve Jobs, and the 2012 opening ceremony for the Olympics.
Hello, Mark. So what you been up to for 20 years?
We wouldn't get a sequel to this film until 2017, with the aptly named T2, Trainspotting. Danny Boyle stated that he was waiting until the cast had aged visibly enough to portray their characters once again. The original cast, though, would come back and reprise their roles in what is, to me, one of the best sequels ever made, and continues its legacy perfectly. But that's a story for another time. Trainspotting is a film that is filled with layers and depth. Yes, it's a gritty and dark portrayal of drug addiction and its effects, but it also explores the themes of friendship, loyalty, and betrayal. It delves into the lives of its characters and examines the choices they make, often leading to devastating consequences.
You lied to us, son. Your own mother and father.
You could bring us some jellies.
No!
Upon many rewatches over the years, I've picked up lots of little details that I've never noticed before. For example, the drug dealer. He plays a very similar role in Shallow Grave. One could even say it's the same character. The most important thing about Trainspotting is its innovative and visually stunning style. The cinematography and sound design are top-notch here. From its quick cuts, surreal imagery, and the needle drops, they all combine to create a sensory overload that's incredibly exhilarating.
It's good. Oh, it's really f***ing good.
It's a film that many future artists would try and replicate, and sometimes parody pretty well. To sum it all up, Trainspotting is a film that only gets better with each rewatch and is a thought-provoking experience. Its depth, style, cultural impact, and relevance make it a timeless classic, and one that I will continue to enjoy for many years to come. Just remember to
Choose your future, choose life.
Here comes